Hello, I'm here with Kayvon Jungani, the founder and CEO of Vanita, a popular dating app. Hi, Kayvon, how are you? Thank you for taking time out of your busy day for me.
Hi, Iman. How are you?
I just had a few questions and wanted to really dig into your insight when you first launched this app and how your strategy was able to be implied in now a very successful app.
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
Okay, first of all, obviously with apps, it's a very competitive space, and you are in the dating app sphere, which is even more so competitive. How did you create an app that was able to thrive in such a crowded market? Did you have to create new demand, or were you able to compete with big time players such as Tinder or Hinge?
Yeah, well, when we saw the dating market, especially during COVID, when everybody was flocking to these applications, we saw that there were certain demographics of users, especially in ethnic groups, that were underserved and somewhat underappreciated in these like large players like Tinder, Bumble, Hinge. And it just didn't cater to a large segment of ethnic users, specifically South Asian users. And once we saw that, we did like market analysis that there was a predominant amount of users, especially in like the Gen Z, South Asian, young millennials that lacked an application to allow them to meet other South Asians. We saw the opportunity and we jumped on it.
One of the key topics that we discussed in this class was creating new uncontested market spaces, which they refer to as blue oceans, rather than fighting for dominance in existing spaces. And in these blue oceans, you can obviously sail more freely, and you don't have to compete with such big players. Would you say that
Mhm.
you were able to find a blue ocean where the skies are clear and you're able to just continue?
Definitely. I think, Tinder, all these major dating apps kind of paved the way for the ocean, but there's also like certain channels within these oceans that allow you to, operate freely and not have to go against these big players. Like we never want to go against Tinder or Bumble because the amount of capital, resources, developers that they have, would just be it would be a lost cause, honestly.
Mm.
But finding a niche group and that's still predominantly very large. It allows you to operate in a vast space to capture a market very quickly.
Amazing. Now, when you were developing the app and when it was first taking off, would you say your strategy was more classical, towards like a stable goal, or were you adaptive, reacting quickly, shaping, trying to influence your market, or would you consider it more so visionary, had a big picture of where you wanted to go?
Yeah, I think you always have to start small, right? Like I think the hardest thing is the first 100 users. Well, in our case, it was like the first 10,000 users because dating apps they need to be somewhat seeded before they launch. So we had a wait list for about 10 weeks that allowed us to generate, 10,000 signups in the US, UK, and Canada. And when we did launch, it allowed us to say, okay, we have a good user base. We have a lot of data to operate off of and then we can scale from there. I think it's really, really hard going, the term 0 to 1, right? So it's like once you have 0 to 1, going from like 1 to 10 is much, much easier.
Were there any specific leadership practices that you found to be most effective for keeping the organization fast moving while also being aligned with your strategy?
Yeah, I mean, I came into this project being non-technical, right? So you have to be able to learn fast and adapt fast and understand key terminologies that the developers are using, right? So having separate one-on-one calls with like your leadership team and, showing them that you understand what's going on rather than them telling you what's going on, you still need to have some sort of leadership. You still need to be able to tell those key developers what your vision is and those key product owners, those, CTOs, like what your vision is and having them take it from there. If you don't, then there's no, they'll operate freely and, there needs to be an end goal in mind.
Hmm. And last point, I know you're very busy. Being in the so-called age of consumer innovation, have you seen examples where, such as your customers or users, have created innovations that influence your strategy or app as a whole?
Yeah, I think early on, like one of the key things that we saw was that, you know, females on our application were honestly very high intent users, especially in the older demographic range, let's say 30 plus, very high intent to get married and be very serious on the app. So we actually saw that the 30-year-old and plus women were had a very high conversion rate in terms of being subscribers. So once we saw that, we tried to cater to those users as much as possible because in most cases, females are not subscribers on dating apps, but in our application, we saw that, you know, these females in 25, 26, 27 plus were actually very high intent in terms of subscribers and customers. So we allowed when we had a customer whenever a user reaches out, we have some sort of data on the back end to let us know, are they a free user, are they a subscriber, you know, what's some of their information that we can take a look at if there's a customer support request. So we quickly identified that, you know, we need to have a separate customer service rep that's catered not just towards um, subscribers, but actually women subscribers, because these were some of the most high intent users of the entire application.
Hmm. Kayvon, thank you so much for taking this time with me. I really appreciate you and getting to see your insight. Thank you so much.
For sure. Thanks, Simon. Glad to talk with you.